Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Renovation and Outdoor Living Show. It's Tuesday. It's a beautiful day, certainly here in Auckland, and we've got a whole bunch of new giveaways to tell you about, having given away our Father's Day gifts last week on Thursday. That was the Makita blower kit and the Amazon Echo, if you remember. And I hope if you won one of those, you've had a great weekend using them, and happy Father's Day to all of you out there for a couple of days ago. Now, also on Thursday, which was, of course, World Renovation Day, as invented by us, we spent the whole show in the Home Ideas Centre. Now, we spoke to the owner of the Home Ideas Centre, Hugh McKellar, and he talked us through the Central Auckland destination hub for anyone building, renovating, designing, or aspiring to create innovative, healthy spaces for living and working. They've got in there, basically, it's a hub, as I mentioned, because they basically collect together well over 100 brands. And you don't go in there and buy the stuff. You just go in there. Well, I think you probably can, but you go in there and you see the stuff, and then you talk to the suppliers to be able to get hold of it. Average time for a visit, 1.5 hours. So cool place to go. That's in Parnell in Auckland. There are a couple of others around the country as well. So today, two indoor topics. The first, building for acoustics. Now, to talk through this, we've asked Alex McGregor to come back. Now, if you remember Alex, he's the account manager for Ortex, and Ortex is a New Zealand-owned company specializing in design, development, and production of interior acoustic and green stuff insulation products. And we spoke, Alex, we would have spoken probably about 20 episodes ago. And at that time, Alex, we were talking all about thermal technology behind your products. Today, we want to talk about the acoustic technology. So just run us through some of the problems, the acoustic problems that Ortex solves.
Yeah, g'day Rod, and kia ora everyone. I guess there's, and I'll go into a little bit more, we always get asked, because we make two types of products with our recycled plastic. We make thermal, which I've already talked about, and we also make acoustic panels, like these beautiful things behind me, or stuff like this that you see in a school or office spaces. But what I kind of wanted to come in and talk about today was understanding the two different noises and types of sound we want to absorb, because sometimes people ask us to solve one problem, but really it is another problem.
So to me, I would think if I'm thinking of renovating at home. Actually, here's an interesting question. I'll start off by saying, how often do you have people who come to you and say, we've just renovated and we never actually thought about the fact that we live next to a motorway and we can still hear it?
It's probably motorways, roads, or even having the neighbours next door is a huge consideration. It's getting more so now with all the infill housing and being 1 metre to your barrier. You have to consider that a lot more. But someone's coming in with their old villa and they've got single glazing and old style walls and saying, I can hear the road. Simple. Can you fix that? We get calls and asked about it every week for sure.
And is it a case that people just completely forget to think about it? And they just assume that if they're going to be, re-insulating because they're doing a room up or they're putting an extension on or something, that it will solve the problem? Or do you have to specifically think about the products for the very purpose of acoustics?
Yeah, and it's not even just the products. It's actually the system as a whole. Sometimes we forget about how the whole system works, and we say, look, we want to reline, we want to put some insulation in, but we don't think about how that wall's going to perform as a whole. So, for example, like that, what we're trying to say here, if we're going to try to stop the road noise coming in from outside, the green stuff, the insulation that you have in the walls is only a small part, and it's not going to be able to change the difference of a truck going past at 3 a.m., you being able to hear it versus you not. What insulation, whether it's us or any insulation in the walls, are going to do, it's going to take out those higher frequencies. But that big low rumble, the truck, the car, someone starting up their Chevy in the morning, that's done in the structure. You need plasterboard, you need rondo, you need the whole wall in itself to actually stop as many airborne decibels, and you need density for that. You try and yell through glass or concrete, it won't get through that real dense stuff, but it can get through plasterboard, no problem.
Yeah, and of course, and so you're so right in that it's not about removing the noise completely, because we can stick eggshells. That's what egg boxes. That's what we used to do at school for the band room, isn't it? But it's about just dulling those sort of frequencies which are so annoying and you're awake, and that you can hear that you notice the whole time. What about, and I imagine that council has also come up. Have they got new standards? Because they seem to be, healthy homes is a big thing. We talk about it on this show. So is this a part of it as well?
Yes. So if you are looking to split your residence or build some, trying to create another residence within your home, you want to lease out downstairs, you actually have to design your floor structures to stop a certain amount of STCs coming through. And that's your intertenancy systems. You need that to stop 55 decibels, whether it be the wall, the floor, or the ceiling, to get between those different abodes. And 55 decibels, to put in context, if you and I started yelling at each other, that would be around 60 to 70 decibels. 30 decibels, so if we take out 55 out of 70, for example, and we're left with 15 on the other side of that framing, that's the sound of a pin drop. So that's the sort of protection you need to get out of either those ceilings and walls. And a simple bit of plasterboard or a little bit of insulation in there isn't going to do that. You need to design it as a whole. So, for example, these pictures here is my house, and what I've done here is the blue stuff. There's actually acoustic insulation that I put around the bathroom, so that when myself or my wife are getting up and using it in the middle of the night, we're trying to do a little bit of privacy. It's not going to stop it completely, but it's definitely going to take out some of that clanging when she drops her toothbrush in or whatever. It's going to really soften that. Acoustic insulation is kind of like putting a pillow in a kick drum. You still hear that thud, but it's not as tinny or as plasticky anymore.
It's interesting, though, also, if we just step back, so that I thought STC probably stood for stomping, tramping, and clomping, but no, you did explain it when you brought the slide up. So that's interesting that you're talking about the ceilings as well. Maybe people don't think so much. Do you have specialist product just for ceilings as well, rather than just using a normal installation?
So our acoustic insulation, and it is designed. It's called Sound Solution. It has been designed with Jib to work in all their acoustic systems. So if you're really after trying to create space, try and look for the whole system. Look into a Jib acoustic system or any full system that will give you a way to design the whole. This here is like an example of a wall build-up, and this can tell you what the STC of that wall might perform like. And this is what I do on a daily basis with architects to say, here's your wall, here's how much it's going to stop between you and the neighbor. You're doing a new residence, townhouses. Well, we need to get this from STC 50 up to 55. So we figure out ways to get around that.
God, it's interesting. There's a lot of science in it. But do you also, though, stick to the principles? Because I know that I think it was the Green Stuff product, which is there's a lot of plastic in it, but it's all recyclable, isn't it? So you get the plastic is the thermal, and I presume this works for the acoustics as well. Yet you still have does the same product sort of apply?
Exactly. Everything's still 100% polyester. Look at our guys in the factory. They don't need gloves. They don't need breathing. So that's why it's good for the home. And for example, our wall linings. So again, acoustic insulation. Yep, made from recycled plastic. It's pretty never going to be itchy. Pretty easy to put into your own wall if you need to do something around a bathroom or an extension or something like that. Very healthy for those. It goes into all new healthy homes and things like that. The same also goes with our acoustic panels, like this cool feature here, or if you go into any classroom, you have acoustic absorbing panels. Now this sort of steers away from what I was saying before. This is not about stopping noise get into the space or hearing your neighbor. This is now, once you've created your office, so to speak, or you created a space, and it's really good at protecting the noise coming in from outside. What it's also going to be doing is allowing noise to bounce around within that space, so you get an echoey. For example, if you went into a cafe or something like that and you can't hear and everyone starts talking louder and louder, we use recycled plastics again to make these really cool finishes like that ceiling structure up there, or these wall panels that help absorb all that bouncing around noise, which is actually different from the noise that gets through a wall.
That's so interesting. So that one on the left there, that's your acoustic panels on the ceiling, because otherwise you've got a very high ceiling and the sound would just sort of dissipate, wouldn't it? given the desks below. And then also, I imagine the panels maybe between desks as well. A lot of people would have sort of barriers. Do you do all that stuff as well? I mean,
everything like that's made. It's all still like a rigid polyester sheet cut out into circles, hills. We can print a beautiful image on it for you if you want to sit there and look at a mountain range while you work. You know, it's have you noticed a much bigger demand in this as people have become more aware of their working? I'm thinking about work environments now, particularly, you know, workplaces over the last 2 or 3 years or 5 years have become hugely aware of, you know, well-being and health while you're at work. And so is this something you see a huge demand for now? Absolutely. If I take the other scale of it, education isn't a recommendation. With education, it's a requirement. And the reason why there isn't a requirement in the space is because 1 in 4 words in a poor room are missed for children. So you can imagine if a quarter of their learnings, and they're not like us, they can't infer when they can't hear what we're saying. They miss that sentence, they miss the meaning, and they miss the learning. The same goes in an office space when you're trying to create an atmosphere for people to be creative, where you're trying to allow collaboration going on with a lot of these startups, especially sitting around tables that throw ideas around. They want to have a space that is welcoming and not overbearing and isn't conducive to that sort of environment.
Interesting, isn't it? And of course, now when we're talking about renovating in our homes now, as you mentioned earlier, the new standards that we're now having to meet, well, not just for our own comfort, but if we've got, you know, people, maybe you're renting out and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's big business, isn't it? And necessarily so. Really interesting stuff. Yeah. Okay. So it's also interesting behind you. So this is the science of the shapes, isn't it? Like the flaps on the ceiling. That's all about the actual shape of the panel, isn't it?
To be honest, in this. In modern day now, that is just about aesthetics.
Okay.
So
that's no then.
like if you look at the new MediaWorks building now, it's got the most amazing structures coming out of it. It looks like you were talking about like a high-end egg carton, so to speak. It's really beautiful, but it's really about just having mass, and you're trying to capture wavelength. So depending on how a wavelength is, you want a product to match that. So for example, that one in the right there might be hard to see, but that's Taronga Zoo in Australia, and the Prince Charles opened that one up, and what that's to do there is absorb hundreds of people walking through that space and give them a really cool, exciting area to walk through.
It's stunning. Is that one of your projects?
Yes.
Wow, very impressive. Hey, Alex, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of time into acoustic insulation, and best of luck with you guys at Ortex as you keep on pioneering new and safe and recyclable solutions for all our homes and office spaces. Good to have another chat. We'll look you up in another 20 episodes time.
Thank you, Ron. Catch you guys.
No worries. That's Alex McGregor there from Ortex. Really good to see you again. Now, we were just mentioning then how important it is to have great acoustic insulation when we're working. Now, another fundamental requirement when we're working is good lighting, of course. And so many of us now are working from home, like I am. And we may not benefit from carefully considered commercial and office lighting. You know, if you're building a new office space, you are going to invest heavily in its lighting as you do in the acoustics and everything else. But we don't do that at home. So we need, I mean, what have I got? I've got, you know, it's something which I plonk on the desk to try and give me a bit more light. So we need to be a bit more considerate when it comes to our lightings in our home workspaces. That's why we decided we wanted to have a chat with Randa Abbasi. Now, Randa Abbasi is an occupational therapist who runs Workspace IQ. Workspace IQ is basically provides solutions that enhance individual work practices and people's overall well-being at work. Randa, you're the boss at Workspace. It's what an interesting company. I mean, how did it come around? I mentioned the fact that this is all about just helping people with well-being because you're an occupational therapist.
Yeah, so I mean that's core to what we do. Oh, hi, by the way, and hello to all your viewers. But that's core to what an occupational therapist does, and we firmly believe if you increase or look after people's health and well-being, then we all benefit from that. Not you individually, but us as a society. So, we do everything from, helping people rehabilitate from an injury, to actually just trying to be quite proactive and address their health and well-being. And so I guess Workspace IQ came out, I talk about being the ambulance at the top of the cliff. So we're trying to avoid injuries, which is more the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff when you have to present to hospital. And we do some ACC work after people have had an injury, but we're really in this space trying to prevent pain, discomfort and injury, because in a work environment, in an office environment or home, so much of it is avoidable. And ACC now actually don't cover a lot of workplace injuries, pain or discomfort from this work environment, because it's just so common, but also it's so preventable.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do.
Because historically it would be about you going in, I don't know, or the problem becoming apparent after the RSI had set in, as a small example, but a very commonplace one in the early days. Now, and you're absolutely right, it is unacceptable, given that professionals like yourself have so much knowledge and are so available to share that knowledge for workplace, not to make sure that they don't do everything to try and prevent that. So it's actually, complete sense, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And the new Health and Safety Act actually reflects that now. So an employer has a lot more responsibility to look after their workers, no matter where they are. So your employer, for you working at home, or if you've got a mobile workforce and their car is their office, then to look at that. I do lots of Uber drivers and stock agents who are out in the car all day. I live in the south, so there's a few of those. It's just taking more responsibility, but it's actually a two-way street. You have to take responsibility as well. And it's not just the physical environment, it's actually how you interact with it that makes it successful.
And this is a theme we talk about a lot on the show now, our homes. When we're renovating nowadays, when we're landscaping nowadays, it's not just about making spaces look smart and be practical. It's about how are we actually living in those spaces.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one now. I mean, we want to specifically talk about lighting today. I think I mentioned at the beginning, because I imagine this is, we could put the heater on, we can make sure we've got the comfy chair, we can make sure we've got space around us and that we're not sort of exposed to electric shocks. But no one thinks about the lighting, except maybe like honk a lamp on the desk and just be done with it.
That's the most common, what's the most common problem, and it's really that people just don't factor in lighting, and they don't realize how cold and drafty houses are as well. But offices are obviously built to a commercial spec, so they have to address all those things, but we don't think about it. We think about going out and buying a decent chair and a desk, as you said, and maybe a screen, but it's not until those symptoms where you get those tired, sore or itchy eyes kick in that you suddenly think, what am I doing wrong? Like, this is meant to be good for me, but I feel like, sore in the eyes, or I've got a headache. So when you've got visual glare problems, you often get that central kind of headache, and so that's when you start rubbing here or you rub your eyes, and that's the first sort of sign, or you have your headaches or migraines, that you've got too much light or not enough light.
Wow. So those are the signs or the symptoms, are they?
Yep.
So it's
tired
pain,
eyes, itchy eyes,
headaches.
Yeah, migraines. And at the front of your head, not the ones that come up. Well, you can have the ones that come over the back of your head are from your shoulders, and that's sometimes about tension. And if you're squinting at your screen because you're trying to filter light so much, so this is one of the most common things that I see in home office setups, and I'm doing a lot more home visits now to assess people at home, is they like to look at the view, because I spend all that money on their nice landscaping. They like to look at what's happening out in the street, and they put the screen up against the window. But what that does is your eyes are like a camera with that pupil filtering light. So you've all of a sudden got all your sunlight coming in, but then you're trying to look at your screen as well. So that filter is constantly having to work, and it doesn't ever get an opportunity to relax. So this sort of setup just creates too much light for your poor eyes, and then you're looking at your screen. You're not getting interrupted as much as you would in a office environment. So it's just a constant gazing at the screen, and they're just like they're tired. So
So what do we have to think about? I mean, obviously, that the first rule is try not to set up with your screen in front of a window because it's just too much light. What else should we be thinking about?
So screen placement's really important, and we would recommend 90-degree angle to like this picture, to the windows. The other thing is at home. I mean, this has got Venetian blinds. But
now.
Yeah, perfect. That's good. See, look how much natural light it gives you. It's about getting the balance between the natural light and the artificial light through your lamps. And we'll talk about lamps in a minute. The other thing is where your lighting, and I'm pointing to my ceiling for some reason, where your lighting is positioned. I mean, I'm in a spare bedroom. I'm on the south side of the house, so typically, it's obviously cold and a bit darker. But I'm usually out in your workplaces. I don't spend a lot of time in my own office. I've got 2 central LED lights embedded into the ceiling, but a lot of people have a pendant light with a lamp, which means that they get a lot of reflections onto their desk space. So it's really thinking about the lights that you have actually on your ceiling, but what else can you do to create more light? And that is around or variable light. So when the sun goes down or it's a grey or miserable day, you can have an external light to increase the environment. The other thing is the window covering. So a lot of people have thermal blinds in the south anyway, but block out blinds. So it's all on or it's all off. And it's actually thinking about something different, maybe some, having tinted windows that just filter it a little bit, or like you would in a commercial building and having the roller blinds that would also filter some of that bright light for you. You might end up having 2 workspaces too. So in the morning, I can work here. And in the afternoon, I often go and work somewhere else, so I sort of follow the sun around my house a wee bit, but I don't look at the sun. I just like to, to know that it's out the window.
Something you said there which really interests me is the glare. You said lights which glare onto the screen. Is that again because that makes you squint? Does that bring us back to that initial problem because it's not?
That's right. That's right. So it's either hitting your eyes directly because you've put your screen up against the window, or a lot of people have a window behind them so that the light just passes straight over top of them into the screen and then straight into your eyes, and it's too much.
You mentioned LED. Is LED technology is better for your eyes than any other?
Yes, yeah, because it's got more filter in it. Now at home we have the filters on. Often they're quite exposed in the workplace. You can see the bottom, and so they often need filters put on, and that's what I recommend. But they like that kind of industrial look at the moment. But often in a workplace, the desks are positioned between 2 sets of light. So it's a really nice filter onto the desk space. They're not directly under it, and they're not looking at it either. So it is really important. I mean, in my little office here, I have a single bed, so it's a pretty little office. I have 3 lamps, and so that is just depending on whether it's, if it's grey or dark, sunny day. The other thing is I have a lux meter, but typically people don't have a lux meter. And so luminance is how you measure light, and the reading is lux. And the average, you can get your electrician to do this. The recommendation is about 320, between 200 and 500 lux is the recommendation. But another good way you could do it to measure your light at home is just to get a blank piece of paper, hold it up against your screen, and then hold it up against or put it on your desk. And if the light is the same, you know that you've got the light correct. But if it's pretty dark or shadowy on your desk, you need more light on your desk.
Yeah.
So that's maybe a little easy way.
Let's say that the most immediate solution, you keep on holding up this very smart looking lamp, which is I presume it's an LED. Is that LED?
Yeah.
So are you shining that just down onto, so that's what you're
onto
shining
the desk.
But it doesn't appear with your
It's
screen.
not in my eyes. And the good thing about this one, it clips onto you. I clip it onto, I've taken it off so you can see, but onto my screen. So that it doesn't take up desk space. But the other thing is it has 3 different levels of lighting. I don't know if you can see that.
We could see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So depending on how bright I want it. And sometimes, when you just really have to concentrate on a job, you actually want a lot of light just to really focus yourself and to give yourself the best opportunity to do well at that job. Other times, if it's just sort of emails here and there, you just need a little bit of light to make it comfortable for your eyes. So that's quite good. And the other great thing about these, they're only $20, is that it plugs in through a USB port into my laptop. So it's not, that's the other thing I think you mentioned about electricity before, or plugs and things. Often we don't have that many plugs. I only have 2, but by the time I've put the printer and the screen and the laptop in, and you can have a power board, but it's just another cable underneath, which is an issue with people at home. So this one's quite good because it just plugs into your laptop. It's very portable too. It's a good little.
So you've done the sales piece on this lamp, but we have absolutely nothing to buy them, because I know that you very generously have given us, and that's why we brought up a screen of it earlier. So thank you very much. You've given us, how many you've given us?
5. I've got 5 in stock. Love to get rid of them.
Awesome. They'll fly out. Now, we're not going to give them away today because we've got a couple of other great giveaways lined up. So we're going to do that one next. Okay? But Randa, thank you so much indeed for giving us a bit of an insight into healthy lighting in the home. And more than anything else, if you're working from home, or if you're designing a workspace from home, because this is what so many people are now doing as they're renovating, they're actually making this, is think about the lighting and where your desk's going to be, the LEDs, the angles, the power.
That's right. Try to get the mix of the natural light and the artificial light. So offices under the stairs or in the attic, no windows, are fine from a space perspective, but they're not great from a light perspective. So, and the other thing I'll just say is, with eyes, they're very precious. So look after them. If you are really concerned, obviously go and get an assessment. You've only got one set and you need to look after them. 80% of eye issues are curable or manageable. So, it's just really important to keep looking after and addressing those eye issues. Don't ignore them.
Randa, thank you so much. And anyone can give you a ring. Workspace IQ. If you're a developer, or if you're a builder, or if you're doing your own home renovations, or you're planning, ring you. Workspaceiq.co.nz. Really good to have a chat. That is Randa Abbasi, who is an occupational therapist and the owner and the everything of Workspace IQ. Cool. And we'll give away the lamps next week, hopefully, or maybe in a couple. Because right now we've got other prizes I need to tell you about. The first is this is Alex has given us these from Ortex, who we were talking to about this. This is about the acoustic solution. This is a bale of Ortex Green Stuff sound solution. So if you're thinking about any sort of installation at the moment, then this would be well worth winning. It's particularly good for your internal walls to help sound transfer. You know what Alex was saying about the between the bedroom and the bathroom? This is what you need, basically. So you don't hear, for Alex was talking about his wife dropping his toothbrush. Other people, there are other sounds which they might want to keep excluded from their bedroom space. But anyway, you can win one of those if you like our page here and you tell us when Ortex was founded, okay? So like our page, tell us when Ortex was founded. We'll put you in the draw for that. We're also going to give away. This is great. This is the Stego USB-C hub. So that's the little black box there with all the leads, plus also the Curve SE lift for your MacBook. Okay, this is your perfect work from home accessory. Okay, so you're going to get the USB-C hub and the Curve SE lift for your MacBook. Now to win that, oh, by the way, you can yeah, I think you can buy the USB-C hub at Noel Leeming. If you don't win this, you can buy it at Noel Leeming. You can get the Curve SE online. But actually, you can buy the black stand from JB Hi-Fi and Noel Leeming. So if you can't win this, try JB Hi-Fi and Noel Leeming. They'll be able to sort you out with this stuff. But to win that, we want you to like our page and share the competition. All right, like the page, share the competition. Which brings us to our top 10 for today. And the top 10, we thought we'd stick with the work from home theme. We decided work from home memes. And in number 10, in 10th place, these are the work from home memes that'll brighten up your day. And in 10th place, work from home solves 50% of the what should I wear today problem, because that's what we're all wearing to work from home. Except for the guy who's put a tie on. He's slightly overdressed for working from home. At number 9, we've got the when people ask me what I do working from home. 9:40, what my friends think I do. 10:40, being asleep still. What my, I can't even read that, it's too small. Clients think I do. I'll just make that slightly larger for myself. What the, you can read it yourself. There we go, I've made it bigger now. What the government thinks I do, how can I get a tax write-off for these toys? What my mum thinks I do, play with the kids all day. What I think I do is just be damn cool. What I really do, sit one-handed typing, jiggling the baby. That's working from home for you. Now, number 8, when you're working from home and school is closed. Number 7, when you just need a little bit of peace and quiet. Excellent. Actually, that's extremely against the law. Well done, Mum. Number 6, sorry, taking a quick nap after daily stand-ups. 9 o'clock, hard at work. 9:12, yep, fast asleep. I know that feeling. Number 5, when you've devoured all your pandemic supplies in a week. Working from home day 1, working from home day 5. That was a common theme during the lockdown, wasn't it? Number 4, this is something that the cat owners can relate to whilst working from home. Very clever, cat on a mouse. Number 3, all those Zoom calls. Such an unflattering angle always. Top of the head, up the nose, side on. There you go. Me and my co-workers logging into all our meetings remotely for the next couple of weeks. Number 2, from the best work from home memes, archaeologists working from home. And number 1, top meme for the work from home is a Zoom needing a Snapchat filter absolutely turned on the webcam during a conference call. Excellent. There you go. A little bit of silly light fun to finish off our Tuesday show. Really good to see you all. We'll do it all again on Friday. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.